Hey, how we doing?
Hello, hello. Wait, have we had a session before?
Hold on, this is scuffed. One sec.
Oh, you hear the audio poorly? Oh, you got stream on?
Okay, for some reason it was defaulted to my monitor, but we're all good now.
Oh, yeah, I have every single time now something happens with my computer, Discord asks to change my audio, so maybe that happened to you as well.
Yeah, probably, but we're all set, man. So what's up?
It's amazing. Yeah, man, not much. Almost getting over the flu, feeling a little better.
Damn, that sucks. I was sick last week. I was out of work, so I feel
Yeah.
you there.
I've only got like 2 to 3 days where I'm just not worth the damn, basically, and I just gotta kind of power through it, get enough sleep, get enough fluids, and just let it ride out.
For real, yeah.
Okay. Well, I scrolled to the bottom
Mm-hmm.
because I saw there were some questions and goals and stuff like that there. So I think it's good to have that as a general idea of what what kind of context we're gonna look at everything through. Um, so it looks like goals. You want to get a secondary character up to 275 plus.
Yep.
That's like a general account goal, and your main character right now is, well, I guess for that, it should be
Also,
solo.
275.
So 275, right? And you're feeling like that slower return, or 275 is just like the goal for the content that you wanted to be able to access?
Well, I think my goal is, since I just returned back to the game with a Go West update back in like June-ish, July.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now I'm just like really like into the game now. Since I've actually leveled past 250 for the first time, actually started clearing hard bosses for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
So with the hyperburn, I feel like if I continue this pace, I probably might need another C10 boss mule. So, and also Paladin's a class that I like. So I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
good goal for the next hyperburn.
So, wait, so this one was a hyper burn, but you're not really super endgame digging it, or?
I'm talking about for the next hyperburn coming up,
Yeah.
whenever that is.
Uh-huh. But you,
No, it'll just be a secondary character.
okay, okay. So you do want to keep, like, full maining. It's
Full
gonna be
meaning the
specific.
hero.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Hmm.
Gotcha. All right. But when it says here Hyperburn Paladin, that's the character that you've picked? Do you know
That's
that?
what I'm going to pick.
Yeah,
Is
you're
what
close pick.
I'm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you're gonna keep sending that one, have it on a secondary. So have it basically follow in the footsteps, but always stay one step behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And you've been training past 275 a little bit now in the hero. You've been keeping up, like slowly progressing.
Yes. A little bit, but like when I messaged you, I was on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit over the weekend, so I've only done like 1 or 2 WAPs this week so far. But that also kind of leads to the other question I have, like, you know, should I still be doing the amount of WAPs I have been doing, just the past like 2 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because like that also goes back to my drops. Like I said, I've never done hard bosses, never done C10 bosses, and I don't have many spares right at the moment. So I'm kind
Gotcha.
of
Wait, when
just
you say
like,
hard bosses, what do you mean by that exactly?
like hard gloom or chaos, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
know, yeah,
C10A. Yeah, C10 is
right.
stuff and higher than that. So nothing grand is so nothing C10. So the hardest is like the, I guess, normal Tenebris at the hardest, or?
No, I currently clear chaos gloom, um, hard dark Knell. I haven't done black mage yet, but everything underneath that I clear.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. 0 to 50 get drops for September next year. Be liberate. So liberate within the year. So you got to start running at least within 3 months,
Right.
or
Yeah.
yeah, I think it should be doable. Have you done any kind of BA or anything like that to kind of see where your damage is at specifically for the black
Uh,
mage?
No, I just joined my this guild I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer. So they actually have like a party Discord where it's kind of required you do your BA. So I was gonna do that when I had like some free time,
Gotcha.
and then go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess based on maybe today's session as well, you can kind of get some easy gains to help you out with making those results a little bit more in line with what you want it to be. Of course, there's always some small things you could be overlooking, and that might always give you some minor gain. What seems like minor gains, but that might be enough to hit some extra numbers. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And how are you in general time commitment to the game? Like, how much are you willing to? How much are you desiring to spend, I guess?
Yeah. So I just got a new job where I work from home. So, you know what that means. I pretty much just WAP and then have my work screen up on the second monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been doing, I would say probably, I can probably play like 20, 30 hours a week, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's with WAPs and then also, boss mules and all that. So pretty dedicated, I would say. Almost another part-time job. So
Yeah, yeah. And do you see yourself as more gravitating towards grinding is just what you enjoy doing more, or do you see yourself more bossing or more of a balance between the two?
right. Actually, that's actually why I quit initially, because I came back to the game last year in November with Hyperion release.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just grinded to like 263, something like that. And then I'd never done bosses. And then I quit because I got frustrated because I didn't know how the will pattern. So when I came back in June,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I actually like this game. So, just learn how to do the bosses. But yeah, bossing was never something I liked. I've always enjoyed grinding. Always did Legion. That was like my favorite thing to do. But
Okay.
now,
Okay.
now it being over 9K, there's not much benefit to it right now.
Yeah. It's definitely more for a enjoyment out of the achievement kind of thing, not for actual gaining damage for your account or your main character. It's not really
Right.
much there anymore. Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I mean, the general idea is always like whether you're shifting your balance in width or in depth, right? Where you're going horizontally or vertically in terms of approaching a game, and there's always different avenues you can go and different ways of distributing your time that you're allocating. But you're always going to be doing a healthy balance of the two, right? I mean, even someone who has just one main and is trying to get to level 300, they're probably still going to eventually build a Legion that's over 8K. You're not going to see Niru having like a 500, level 500 Legion or something, because then you're just wasting so much potential damage on one end just to get a little bit extra on the other side. That's just so much less efficient. It just makes sense. As much as I don't want to make everything just like basic calculus on efficiency per hour, to an extent you have to include that somewhat in what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just you're gonna not feel that sense of progression or that sense of value for your time that you're spending. Right? It's kind of necessary. So, okay, so 0 to 250, that's more like general account progression, right? That you're kind of doing on the side because there's so many events, level up potions, that kind of stuff. So that's your current kind of like side thing where you're like picking up bonus EXP and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yep.
yeah, right now, with the Inkwell notes, we got those 2 mag pots. Now it's 240. So, and it still has Pencilier gear. So, yeah, that's that'd be a nice little 2% extra EXP in a couple levels. So,
Yeah, I think it's totally in the past. I definitely warned people about like marooning characters, basically, right? Where they're geared with level 100 gear, and then you level them up all the way to like 170, and then people are like, "Oh my god, trading at 170 is so hard." It's like it gets a little bit harder, but if your character is fun at like a level 120, then of course you're not going to be able to suddenly kill monsters at 170, right? Plus, then
yeah.
funding a character at 170 to get to 200 when you're only getting 30 levels worth of juice out of it instead of 80 is also going to be way less efficient. So if you're already that far in, I usually advise people, like, if it's just a character you don't like at all, then just like full send that on like potions and EXP, and we're getting so much of that stuff that it's a reliable way of just getting to 250. But probably before that, maybe not in your case, but most people who do also enjoy bossing and do want a balance more in line with like closer to what would be like a 50-50, right? Not as much as you want, clearly. Then it makes more sense to dedicate those resources first to like bossing mules to get them up and running so that they can help generate more income for your account. And then you shift a little bit more after that towards account value 250. So yeah, stuff like 0, maybe like critical damage, but I'm thinking of the group as well, which has like Mercedes, Mechanic, right? Like these classes that will definitely just bring your entire account up to a better level with their extra abilities from the Legion grid. Okay. Get drops. Yeah, get drops is everybody's goal always, huh? This game is a drop rate simulator. That's the only way you can get drops in any kind of realistic time frame that is not completely impossible and untenable. That's really the one factor that makes it so that it's even reasonable to keep progressing.
Yeah, I know. Which is actually the reason I really put that is because, you know, since I want to say overleveled. I don't know if I did, but since I've been grinding so much and just been doing hard bosses for like maybe a couple weeks, and then I see people like that are like 270 with like a Genesis weapon. But then I'm comparing myself who probably played for years to other people, you know.
Yeah, it's never somebody's first character to get a if you're a 270 and you have a Genesis weapon, because that has to mean that you haven't leveled basically in the last 6 months at least. Because if it's your first character, you want to be at least 270 to be able to even start Black Mage, but probably by the time you're finishing, and if you're somewhat actively playing, that's going to be 8 months later, you're going to be 280 if it's your main character. So anyone who's like liberated under 280, it's like it's not their main, or they've like started off with an entire network of people, so they started liberating like day 1, and they don't plan to get past 275 or something, right? But that's weird, because then why would you hardcore try to lib if you're not going to go past 275? The only way reason you do that, if it's not a main character and if it's just a side character, and you have the ability to use that. Maybe you leverage your position in a guild or an alliance. Maybe you leverage your position by exchange carries with the main character. There has to be something else there that allows you to leverage a position of some kind of influence and value, and that makes it so that you can live faster, get access to special ring skills faster, and those two are major factors in if you're trying to fund a character to, I would say, to like where you are now with your main, but as a boss mule. So at that point, you're operating on a whole other level in terms of account income and in terms of desirable balance between mobbing and bossing than what you're having. So the fact that you're not like actively working on, let me try to start like building up like 6 mules right now to start living, that's not like a bad thing, because that wouldn't fit how you want to play the game anyway. Right? You want to be able to more, while working from home on the side, keep like grind it up. You can't like actively be doing bosses. That would just take too much attention, probably, right?
Yeah,
and it's not your
true.
And it's not your go-to desirable thing already as well. You already said that you don't really like that either. So that might be a combination of some things. It might be a combination of maybe, I don't know. It could be like an infrastructure. It could be like an internet connection thing. Could be like a hands thing. Could be like just a general.
Definitely hands. I will.
Yeah.
It's hands. Yeah. So.
Yeah, hands could be improved, but everyone has their own limits. Mine have definitely improved a lot through practice, and sometimes I have good days and sometimes I have bad days. A thing that helps me a lot is exo-lag. Just like generally lowering my ping has helped quite a bit, but it's not a miracle cure. It doesn't suddenly make you a god at games. I generally don't have great reaction time, and I'm already pretty old. Like, I just never really had the tactile dexterity and the mechanical skill to really be like a crazy gamer or anything, so I don't try to put that pressure on myself. Yeah, if a boss is just kind of like out of my range, then it's out of my range, and then I typically don't try to push like the newest content that comes out. I always fight that like 6 months to a year later. I think I had the damage for Black Mage more than a whole year before I actually started running it. And then when I started running it, we practiced a bunch. That party exploded. I waited another few months for a new party. Then that party ran for a few months before it actually started clearing. All in all, you know, things come when they come. If you're gonna start looking around, yeah, some people do some crazy shit. Like right now, what I'm doing with my account to some people is like insane. To other people, it's like that's things that they would have done 2 years ago. And you know, you can't really, yeah. Everyone's in such a different situation, right? How many hours you have, who you're connected to. Some people are playing like 3 other games and they're juggling their time. Some people have like 2 kids. You know, it's just really hard to say like what is like the way to play it and what makes sense. So you have a lot of hours, mainly want to grind. You're okay with working on Legion, but that has limiting results. So we're probably going to be looking mostly just on functional gains there. But like, yeah, as long as you have somewhat of a list in mind of the characters that are important that you want to do something on. Some kind of bossing mulage is a good idea just because of the amount of money per time. But the amount of initial investing is still pretty high. And if you'd want to do a main character and then a side main and have those as like 2 big bosses and the rest of the income just be from grinding, that will work out too. You just basically want to get to like somewhat a stable income in total of about 10 bill a week. If that's what you can get to, then your general progress is going to stay decent as long as you spend your money in a wise way, essentially.
Right, yeah, I think I'm at about that, or pretty close to that with just boss mules. I don't know, my math's pretty bad. Because I think I have 3 Lomian. My hero, I think it's from anywhere from 3.5 to almost 4. So what's that? So yeah, I think I'm pretty close, and I have like 3 CRA mules, maybe do a catchy. So that's just from boss mules every week. So
yeah. Then if you don't feel like doing a boss mule, but you grind some extra, then you just make up the difference, right? And then you'll be fine too.
Yeah, usually Shade. I hate that class. So if sometimes I really do just skip that, and then I'll just pop a WAP. That's about the same amount. So.
Well, yeah, this is why I usually advocate for not making a whole bunch of boss mules at the same time, but just adding them one at a time and just slowly funding them and just seeing if you enjoy bossing on them. Because if you don't, then you can also drop them faster because you don't have this huge initial investment done that you feel like you need to capitalize on, right? So it's a good way. And also this way you fund the characters themselves with the resources they get from doing the bosses, mainly through cubes, right? And you don't have to take too much money away from your main character because you're just using a little mini ecosystem within the boss mules that fund each other. And automatically some of them are going to float to the top. You're going to either enjoy bossing on them more, or the playstyle is just going to be better, or they're just going to peak. Some characters also just get countered by certain bosses, right? And if there's always one boss that's just very annoying, you'll also be more inclined to be like, well, this boss is just... Like, I was doing Ho-Young, for example. It's like Damien was just, for the level of power the character was at, Damien was just too annoying because I couldn't burst him down. He was always in the air. Vortex, like a lot of stuff is just missing. You can't really attack too much in the air. It just didn't make sense for me to do that boss. I've just skipped that one on that character. Because, again, to go back to the efficiency, you're looking at, like, the money per time, right? And if you are taking, like, 3 times as long to do Damien versus on another character, or the same time as another character could just do entire CRA, you're just losing, like, 200 mil right there. Like, why would you do that to yourself, right? So, especially in the beginning, when you're not near the 180 crystals, it can kind of be tempting to be like, well, I'll just do all the bosses on all the characters, but you really do want to try to bring it back to how much money am I making per character, how much time am I spending per character. But I think what's always most important is, are you even enjoying what you're doing? And if you ever feel like in a week, like I did too much, or I feel like I did a lot, but I don't feel like I accomplished a lot, then to just look at whatever you leave for the last moment or what you just don't enjoy and just completely drop it and try that for a week, and then just see how your week's changed. Do you still feel the same, or do you feel like, I feel like I did less, but it feels better? Then ultimately I think that's more important, because this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? You're in this game for the long haul, most likely. So I think the best we could do is try to make it enjoyable.
I agree, for sure.
Versus Maple Tour helps a lot. That's like your 1 bill already, right? So that would be at that almost 10%.
Yeah, I need a reminder for Ursus. Like I really do forget to do that sometimes.
Yeah, and the message that pops up on screen would be cool if that was actually an accurate message, but it pops up all throughout the day for some people when you log in, and it's like, but that's not accurate, and yeah. So, well, that's why I run every single day at a set time. I always run at -5. And then we do Ursus, and then with the people who want, we do Monster Park Extreme after, because it's very normal for people to have like a new 260, or they're pretty new to the game, and they can kind of struggle to find a party as a new person, because people just pick other high-level people for a stronger party and for people with more experience, and then I don't know if you've ever seen like 3 people in their 260s try to do Monster Park for the first time, all of them. That's kind of a nightmare. So if you just have 2 strong 280s and you pick up 2 260s that just run around the map and just tell you where the gorilla is, then that run is as fast or maybe faster than not picking them up, and then they get the XP, and yeah, I just think it just makes sense. But yeah, I guess that segues a little bit into the commands and everything. Are you familiar with my setup for my stream and everything?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I definitely used to watch a lot for sure.
Okay.
Still do.
Yeah,
Don't take that the wrong way.
Oh yeah, I meant how dare you? Do you disloyal? No. No, we have our lives, and our time is valuable. Yeah, so for Ursus, you have the time zones there. But yeah, I don't know if just putting a reminder on your calendar makes sense for you, if there's just a certain time of the day when you know you can realistically do it. For dailies, there's definitely this vibe of like, you have to do this every day, because if you don't over a long time, you're going to miss out on a lot, right? The FOMO is super, super huge in this game. Of course, from the efficiency standpoint, it's better to do it daily, and then if you skip 1 or 2 days here and there, then it's not a big deal, right? Your overall efficiency is still very good. But if it's something that's not in your regular schedule, and then when you feel like it, you also then don't do it, then you end up taking a thing that takes you months to taking you years. And then, if it takes you years, then why even do any, and then it takes you decades, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
that's kind of the problem that Nexon has created within their game, where you kind of feel forced to do them, otherwise you'll never get there. And yeah. Again, pick your battles there. Some things will be shitty, like when it comes to like, do you level symbols, arcane symbols on boss meals. I usually just went to whenever it takes longer than a week to level a symbol, I just stop, and then I go to the next character. And if I'm actively working on symbols, I do the weeklies, and I do 1 character's dailies max, something like that. Something that makes sense with how much time you're spending on it in terms of a weekly basis, how much you play. And if you feel like it becomes too tedious, or there's too many days where you don't have it, then just don't, then just cut it out again. And eventually, when a character reaches a goal that you want, you can take that off the list. But yeah, events will mess with your priorities as well, right? Sometimes in an event, it'll be better to train, it'll be better to play on a lot of different characters, but only a little bit per character versus 1 character a lot. Stuff like that shifts all the time, so it's good to be flexible, and good to constantly just reassess how your week is going, and if you want to add something or remove something, because nothing should be static for a super long time. So again, that's to emphasize not to overinvest in boss meals, because then you'll feel more locked in, and then that reduces your flexibility by a lot. Okay, we can get you working towards liberation. Get drops. I assume that's a little bit of a meme that you put in there, right?
That is a meme. Yeah.
That is a bit, yeah. Okay, just to make sure if there's nothing as specifically. I mean, we'll look at drop rate and all that. Make sure that's all done. Once it gets, yeah. So that's we'll look at that. I guess setting up the account in general for a side character, but just like the pitfalls for that, and then excuse me. Your grinding pace is currently doing. I feel over leveled. Okay, well, I guess this last thing is a thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the like the progression grid. It's like a general thing to look at in terms of where you are in the game, right? Is it like the balance here that you kind of mean by that?
Yeah. That's it's kind of like like I have some things that are above where I should be. Like I should be in this late game, but I don't feel like I'm in late game because I've really done nothing but pop a Soul Janus and stand in the corner, So yeah, just based off of like what you have here for the late game, like I'm not really sure if I should be what I really should be focused on. I just feel kind of stuck right now. So, yeah.
Well, primary focus should be what you enjoy doing, and then the general focus, I think, should be in service of that. So if you can now grind forever, and that's really like what is your primary focus is to get libbed, I guess, right?
Yeah,
That would
because
be-
I definitely live because I do want to start pushing into, late game bosses eventually. So I feel like that's probably the #1 goal I should be focusing on.
Yeah, so into the Grandis area and C10A towards solo and all that. Definitely. So we're definitely at a point. There was definitely a point where for my characters, I would only start soloing C10A if I was libbed. But that was all before 6th job, and basically 6th job is
Right.
like a half liberation. Like you get about half the damage, and you get half the amount of uptime on a iframe as well that liberation gives you. So I think it pushes you to the point. But because there's so many more people available and get pushed to that stage earlier now, it also makes much more sense to just find someone to duel with or do small parties with through the boss menu. So the general accessibility, I think, has gone up a lot for that content. And what you'll see is a lot of people just doing pickup groups and things like that, just until they reach enough like boxes for skill rings and just all of the instance drops, essentially, so that you can get more backups, you can get more ring boxes. It kind of brute force that, even if you're not ready to solo or do it in a small party. But then with those updates and those upgrades, and with those items and those backups available, if you then succeed, then you can transfer towards doing it in a smaller party and more consistently and more structurally start aiming for pitch drops, and use that as also a guiding tool to be like, well, now I'm ready to start scaling up on the monsters past what I would say would be like the intro to Grandis, which is like Easy Kalos and Hard Saren, and go towards Easy Kaling, towards normal Kalos, and then towards finishing up the liberation, which this last part, where most people will, endgame is, for most people, that's just not realistic. Some people start scratching the surface, but most people will end up with normal Kalos, Easy Kaling, Hard Saren, Solo C10A, and then, and be liberated, and then, but then you're in the 280 to 285 area, and then you have to really decide, like, do I still keep, giving my life to this game? Or maybe by that time, there's maybe a change in EXP curve requirements, right? And then the amount of EXP total you can get per hour changes because of some shift in the meta or whatever. And then you can start thinking like, okay, maybe now it becomes worth to push again. So when I would think about being over leveled, the main thing I would look at is what is the bossing content that you're trying to do, and is there like significant more damage you can gain just by level gain. The second thing that's like purely level. But what now also comes with grinding is fragments, right? And there's still a decent amount of damage to be gained with Hexa Matrix as well. So I guess we can look at that a little bit, see what your Hexa is looking at right now. Are you following the general like upgrade path thing, like infograph
Yeah,
thing?
through the Hero Discord Google Doc. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's looking quite nice. You got your masteries at 19. That's good. The second one has the passive for the Raging Blow as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So I think, if I remember correctly, for Hero, you kind of just bring them up evenly because they essentially increase your damage on your Raging Blow the same. So there's not really... I mean, you get #1 first because it makes Raging Blow bigger effect, but then you do it evenly because they add equal damage per level. And then Raging Sword and Instinctual, makes sense. And then World Reaver is low.
Yeah.
And Sword Illusion still hits quite a bit, and you have your... okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So this is a general process. Have you ever worked with the Maple Scouter at all?
No, I don't even know what that is.
So basically, in Korea, they developed a tool that it's completely third party, right? It's not official. But it helps you with kind of determining, again, this goes based on like KMS metrics, so it's definitely not perfect for us, but what it tries to take into account based on runs that people have done is if you have certain amounts of damage in your character, which kind of content you could be doing, and in which party sizes it would be reasonable for you to start even thinking about it. Of course, you still have to do practice runs, you still have to get used to the mechanics, grow your hands, all of that, but it will give you a general idea. But an extra little thing that it has, and is this one translated? No. Is it translated to Chinese? What was... Oh, it does go to Chinese as well. Oh, interesting. There is the... Is it the hexacore, I believe? Yeah, so this is where the screen comes from, right? On like what to level up. But so if you hover over it, it also tells you like the efficiency per 30 fragments. So on like how much of your total final damage estimate it's going to add. And of course, by nature of how it works is that the further you go down, the lower that efficiency goes. But this can also be a general good idea to look at in terms of, do I want to start, keep using all the fragments on your main character, or do you want to start moving some fragments over to your second character? Because in the beginning, your second character is going to have these kind of numbers, right? Like it's going to start off with like 10% FD just for like unlocking something. It's going to be huge. And then immediately it's going to start dropping off. But it's going to keep, like this thing is, for me here, like the fourth thing is 0.5%. And then here it's 20th of a percent, right? And then here it's 0.007%. So at that point it's like, so for me, I'm looking at like, because I want to push pretty far, so I'm thinking of like C Kalos, normal Kaling, extreme BM, extreme Saren, extreme Lotus, maybe towards solo, but probably keep doing because my hands and I don't need that pressure in my life. And I don't need berserks, so I could probably take someone along who can get like berserk prio, and then I'll just take the hearts, kind of thing, whatever. So I'm thinking of like this area where it's like 0.035, 0.031, and then it's and then you go to like this area when it starts going into like those side skills that if it starts telling for you to like start leveling up your Sword Illusion and your World Reaver, you're probably going to be like in this last area where, sure, if you're pushing your character to like 285 plus, you're trying to go into 290, and you're trying to get ready for, like a normal limbo is already given, but you're trying to push for a hard limbo, you need to be like on this last line, right? That's just the capacity of your character. But I think for most realistic people, once you start going past like the 0.1%, then you already start definitely looking at throwing someone to a side character, until at least on that character you're like below, probably like at least like some 9s. Yeah, so like at least like below 0.2% or something is what. That's kind of like where I would like draw the line. Probably have at least one stat done, right? But it's very hard to try to do two things at once. I feel like you just have to prioritize one, get all the fragments on one until you reach one of those goals, and then do all the fragments on another. So for me, because I tried to do both at the same time, didn't work. Because basically what happens is that both of them are not progressing, and it's just demoralizing. It's just depressing. So I did everything on one character on the arc. So my arc is like now here, I think. And now I still do High Mountain on here, and I do my Soul Urda daily on here. But basically, so there's still an income because I'm trying to push towards like this area here, right? So that still takes a lot. But everything else is all going now directly into the Demon Avenger, which I guess you can just kind of see my account as, I guess like every character just 10 levels higher than yours, but in a similar, and then all the content just shifted up like one gear that I access. But in the whole account, it's my main focus is just way more on the bossing than on the mobbing. But the balance on like the levels of the characters stays somewhat the same. They're just funded for different areas, and they're just like ahead an extra generation kind of. And that's just the benefit of having played for longer. That just happens automatically. It's never my goal to push so far, right? But it just happens if you keep playing, then the efficiency just tells you like, well, if you do this now, it's just more efficient, it's just more expedient. You just get more value out of it. So
Yeah,
that's where I
yeah.
kind of would look with fragments and with dedicating your time to the secondary versus the first one. So you can do this as well. There's a link in the chat for the Scouter. You want to specifically look, if you're also going to use this to do like the efficiency bus for the cut for the bosses and everything, you want to make sure that you have the right version of the game. There is... Well, I'm not a super expert at this thing, but if you like put in all the numbers, it should tell you on the bottom like which version of the game it is. So make sure it's not the newest version of KMS, because you probably saw that they did a lot of rebalancing there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's those numbers are going to come out quite differently. But yeah, for BA, for the BA for Black Mage, is still usually just do like that standard BA, and try to look for, probably at this point, probably looking for like 80 to 100 bill a second, probably damage over like a total of 6-minute BA using one origin, and then full bursting 3 times. But yeah, even with that, if you have any special skill rings, that makes a huge difference, right? Which I assume you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to screenshot it. I have a Roar 1, so pretty good ring, obviously.
Insane. Yeah.
You know,
I mean the roar part.
bunch of, yeah, the Roar part is, yeah. Random level 2 rings. Gotten a lot of boxes, not a lot of good rings. So.
Yeah. Well, you're getting mostly red boxes, right? There's not too many black boxes yet, probably.
I've actually gotten 2 so far, and
Okay.
yeah, they were both level 2. I think
Yep.
Ultimatum ring and like a Crisis HM ring, so not great.
Yeah. Top tier
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is why also it's a really good idea to start pushing towards just even easy Kalos and Hard Seren. They're not insanely difficult compared to where you're at, but the ring box odds are just so much better. Because yeah, even with a black box, you have
Oh, that is really good.
a 50% chance, right, to hit a level 1 or a level 2, and then the white boxes don't even have level 1 and level 2. So yeah, it's just this part here that's just a ridiculous upgrade. And then Black Mage is weird because it also has the white Jade box ring, but it's a monthly, and it doesn't seem to have a higher chance of dropping a white box than just like your regular weekly Grandest things. So many times you do Black Mage and it doesn't even drop a white box, even though it's I don't know. It should be guaranteed from a monthly boss. I don't understand what the fuck they're doing there. But yeah, you could see like, yeah, chance to hit a roar 4 doubles, chance to hit a roar 3 or roar 4 is a little bit higher. Chance for a weapon jump 4 is a lot higher. Continuous, yeah, and even maybe, Risk Taker is not mentioned here, but Risk Taker is good in some content. Like, I like the Risk Taker on my hero a lot for Sea Gloom, for example, right? It's a lot easier to dodge the falling balls now. So you get to do quite a lot of free damage, and then, before the close, you throw in your origin, so you're immune for the entire origin. You get your Risk Taker buff for that as well. Like even a Risk Taker 4 is only the same amount of damage as a Roar 2, but it lasts 3 times as long. So that compensates for that, I think, quite a bit. 50% attack for 30 seconds is pretty damn nice, especially because Hero's Burst is not over in 5 seconds. It's at least 20 seconds for the instinctual combo, but 30 seconds if you include the origin plus the 20 seconds instinctual. So if you can make that work. Of course, a Jenny iframe from being liberated is extremely useful. It not only opens you up for more survivability, but mostly what it does is once you have that basic foundation of the mechanical skill to already guarantee and safeguard your survivability, it gives you confirmation of damage. And that is where the real value lies of the iframe. When you do those harder bosses, a lot of times people will include like 35-second BAs if you're looking at things like Kalos, because that's 10 to 15 seconds of like groggy phase, then 10 seconds of him bound, then another 10 seconds of him with the other bind, and then technically after that you could use like 10 seconds of a Jenny iframe. So you could stretch that from anywhere from like 30 to 40 to almost 45 seconds, depending on a little bit of server lag or a little bit of squeezing in an extra second here and there in between chaining the binds and all of that. So that is really where it takes you to the next level. I would say being liberated is really useful if you're starting to run Kalos, but it is not paramount. Although if you have a full party that wants to, culling, if everyone wants to start doing culling and nobody is liberated, that makes part 2 very tricky. Not impossible, but a lot trickier. If you have like half a party libbed and half a party not libbed yet, then you can make that work. You know, lib people use their Geni iframe, the non-lib people use their origin. Then you don't have to burst as much. They can immediately burst in P3. That works fine for that boss. But if nobody's libbed, you know, it can get out of hand really quickly, unless everyone steps it up in terms of the mechanics that you use, and you don't use like the cheese strat that people use. That's like the standard now, where you basically purposefully kind of like fail out of some of the boss mechanics, but not so much that you fail the boss, but just enough so you make the boss a lot simpler. And then the margin for error gets smaller, but it's easy enough to complete the boss that way. So that's, I think, the main part where you should start like quote-unquote feeling behind is when you start pushing towards culling and you haven't even started liberation yet. That is probably like a major desync, I would say, with your character and the general progression that you would expect. I guess the last part, when you talk about like just purely the levels, you can see here like the levels of the content, right? As long as you are, you know, even going up to normal Kalos, if you're not 280 yet, but you are continuing your progress, continuing your hexamatrix, your whole account is progressing. And you know, if you're blue dotting, then you know you have to work on something, and then level is one thing, hexamatrix is something, entire account is nothing. But as long as you're green dotting, you know, then you're probably on the right track. And you can always check with the general overarching value of just level itself with the level advantage multiplier. You can see here, so if you're 5 levels below now, you lose 12% FD. FD is its own thing, you know, people say FD, but then there's also a stat in the game called FD, which is a multiplicative number, which is not the same, right? If you have a skill that gives you 20% FD and it goes from 20 to 30, you gain 10 FD, but you don't gain 10 FD, if you know what I mean.
So it's like a percentage, you mean? Or...
Well, so like a final damage multiplier, if it says you gain 20% final damage, then you just take all your damage. You know, if all your damage is just a 1 unit of X, and then you add 20%, you just do 1.2X damage now,
okay.
right?
All
but
right, yeah.
if you're adding 10% FD, that implies that it is a completely separate source, and it is something that multiplies all of your existing damage by that FD multiplier that people are mentioning. But if a skill already gives you 20 and goes from 20 to 30, then you're getting 10 of the FD stat, but you're getting, specifically would be like 10 percentage points of FD, right? So you go from doing 1.2x your damage to 1.3x your damage. And from 1.2 to 1.3 is not 10%. That's, I don't know, fucking 8% or something, right?
Okay, all right.
So that's just like to play that nuance, because sometimes people say like, oh, you're at -5, you're at minus 12%. So if you get +1, you're at 12%, so you gain 24% FD, right? Because it's -12 here and it's +12 there, but it's not really 24%. So because you go from doing 73% of your total potential damage to 93 of your total percentage damage, so you're gaining 20% on 73.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
which
that makes
is
sense.
yeah, so that's more like 28%. I don't know. It's a different number. So just to make sure that sometimes people kind of fudge those numbers a little bit, just to get that as a backup. But you can clearly see here as well, like how much damage would I still gain from leveling. It's pretty non-linear. You can see these numbers get really fucky. It's like +0.7, +5, and then here it gets very clean. It's just very easy. Yeah. So a lot of people talk about being 5 higher to do full damage. Obviously, that's not necessary. That's just like bonus on top of things. That just helps you if you're growing faster to get more value out of your levels. I think you want to get around like if you are doing a new boss and you're like around here, like -3 to -2, this area is totally fine. You'll be good. So if you keep that in mind for the bosses that you want to look at, so as long as you're don't have any aspirations right now to start going to normal Kalos. Otherwise, I would say like be at least like 277 to 278, right? And be like on your way with liberation. And And for easy calling, again, if you're not on track with the liberation, then maybe you can use the levels to kind of like counteract that. But if you also have no skill rings, then it gets harder as well, right? They become like competing factors that are huge for your damage. Liberation skill rings and then just overall damage output are very big multipliers. Of course, IED and stuff like that are as well, but at this point, you should be, settled on your IED, and that should be built up properly. But you can see there's a lot of content here around that level where you're already dealing bonus damage or at least like neutral damage, right? So these are definitely things that you can start trying with the adjustment. There's just the adjusted period in the beginning for characters that just get over 260. That normal Saren and easy Kalos, even though they're technically like accessible pretty early, there's just no way to get that sacred power that early. So for your second character, that's going to be probably a big obstacle that even if you're upgrading faster, because the main thing for your second character is going to be like you've already gone through the entire upgrade path right now one time, right? So you kind of know what the general outline is. You know how to get from point A to B. You're just going to be able to push faster on things like drop rate. You're going to send that immediately so you can start getting more drops. You're going to know which bosses are important, which ones you can skip, and allocate your time more efficiently there. And the main thing that's going to happen is whenever there's an upgrade event, you're going to make really big jumps in upgrade, where on your first character, you will have necessarily needed to make all of the steps in between as well to get to all of the steps of all the bosses in between to get the gear to be able to get to the next step, right? So your second character is going to fast track that way more, but you're still going to feel like a pretty big hurdle here unless you level your character to 265 to 270 pretty quickly, because unless you have access to at least 2, but you're going to pretty much need access to 3 or even 4 symbols before you can get this sacred power early enough to get to these bosses. But assuming that it's not a priority for your second character necessarily right now, because your main character is not even there yet, right?
Right, yeah.
And what is your sacred power? It's probably decent.
Yeah, this PowerPoint is scuffed, my bad. It is 260 right now.
Mm-hmm. No, I could find it. It's okay. But yeah, so 260. You're familiar with the damage multiplier on Sacred? How that works?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So 260, you're already doing full damage, right? So both for level and for Sacred, you're doing full 100% potential damage on normal Saren and easy Kalos. So unless your rest of your account is completely shit, which I don't think it is, damage-wise, you'd definitely already be in this area. So I would say you could definitely start looking for these parties. But that doesn't mean that everything below that you can now solo with ease and, doesn't make it's not going to be a challenge or something. So I think it's totally fine if a boss just doesn't work out. You just run it as a 6-man just to get the clear, just to get the backups and get the valuables like the skill rings. And then once you start running into those, maybe you start trying smaller parties, maybe structured parties, maybe your guild and alliance, whatever, right? And then see if you can get those done. And then not be as reliant on whether someone else is looking for a party as well. You can just run them whenever you have the time to do so, or the desire to do so.
Yep.
Okay. So, your main question was like, are you over-leveled? Does that kind of set the scene on whether you are or not, or do you still have questions about that?
No, I mean that pretty much answers it. It's just that it's just at the point where I know I have a lot of time that I still have to wait, and then I just did the grinding before everything else, So I just wanted to make sure, but that pretty much clarifies what I know I should probably look forward to and what I should be searching for party wise, and yeah, I think. I think if I can probably get to liberate in 2. Is like 285 like too high of a level, you think, for liberation? Because I don't really know
to be
how.
Liberated by you think if you start soon that you can realistically get to 285 by the time you're fully liberated?
Yeah, I think the goal is to definitely find a party in October and just start doing that for liberation. So and then I don't really know how the experience curve is past 275. Isn't it like another 100% per level, right? Is that right?
So so there's like a bump every 5, and then it's a 1.2
something like that. 1.1.
Yeah, it's a little different. I think we have exclamation mark experience. I don't know, I just look these things up every time as well because I don't. Wait, that's my own thing. Do we have the curve? Current EXP curve. There we go. Wow, my resources actually work. This is useful. This is just me testing if I'm doing. Yeah, so you have a 1 point. Yeah, you already had the highlighted. Yeah. So you see here it's like a 1.12 and then a 1.3 and then a 1.11, 1.3 and a 1.09. So it kind of goes down in a multiplier, not to get too crazy because otherwise it'd be too fucking wild. And then past 260, it's just a 3, you know, just to showcase, you know, like people get to, oh, but it's so hard to level past 260. It's like, well, yeah, because you get to 260 on a hyperburn, and then you just suddenly just need triple the experience. It's not even a little bit of an increase. Yeah, and then it's a 1.01, so it's like it goes up a little bit in between the levels, but barely up until 275, and then it's a 1.1 every level. So yeah, and then a 2.02 in between the every 5 levels. So every 5 levels, you do generally get access to the next area, which provides better experience per monster. Past a certain point, I mean, I think past 275, you don't really, or past 280 specifically, you don't really get to kill more monsters per hour. There's kind of just a cap, right, on how many monsters could exist in a map, which I believe is 40, so they cap it at 39 because there's AFK mobs that have to spawn, blah, blah, blah. Or I think technically it's 78 or it's 80 or something, but because of the double spawn in the maps, whatever. So the levels are like, even though they feel kind of similar, but you know, because it's only a 1.1, but I mean you're looking here at 37, and then and then just for levels it's 49, but that's basically that's like 33% more.
That's a lot.
So, yeah. So it does. So typically people kind of look at, okay, do I want to get levels and experience? Do I want to get levels and experience? Very good. Levels and fragments, or do you want to get familiars and fragments, right? Or do I want to do a combination of that? Do you want to do everything on your main or on a side character? Or do you want to get a combination of that? You're already pretty determined in your differentiation between do you want to do mobbing or bossing? So that's an easy question already answered for you. But there is still going to be, I think, a lot of value in grinding all the way up to 280. Past 280, it's really all about like what kind of content do you want to do after that? Do you just want to get to the new area and experience that, or is there specific bossing content that you want to get access to? Even now, if you get to 280, you know, again, with like the level difference, it's going to make it a little bit harder if you want to do things like Extreme Saren and those kind of guys, because that is very steep, and that damage differential is going to make it so that this percentage is going to be very low, and I don't need to get semi-carried, which means you could technically clear, but then you might have to take a step down in terms of the drops and everything, and you know, you might not want to do that, especially if you're not already trying to boss a lot, and then you would boss, but then you don't really get anything out of it, then it's like, why am I doing this, right? So if you try to go for those bosses, then 285 is definitely advisable. But if you're okay with staying a step below that, you can stay at 280, and that would save you, I mean, this whole mess. This is a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
Some people try to get to 286 just to get like that, a little bit of bonus damage on the level 285 characters, just to get that like, extra FD. I mean, for that extra FD, the one level 285 to 286, that's 6 levels. That's like leveling to 279 to 286 times, right?
Okay.
So,
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it gets a lot. XP does go up, but you know, sometimes there's events that it just makes sense to kind of push, but off events, it really you have to have that desire to really just get into that end game content, and really want to make that make that your thing. Otherwise, pushing those levels past that. So all of this to say, like, if you like the character, you keep on progressing with it, you'll slowly get to 277, 278, and that final damage-wise, you'll be fine. You could probably get it to culling, normal Kalos, like, and pretty much do all of the content you want to do before you even hit 280. There's like that magical barrier of 280 and the extra symbol and all of that. But through dailies and everything, you'll get there. And no, I think that'll be good. Yeah, we should probably not waste too much more time on this part, I guess, because I think I think we ran that right.
Yeah, I think we're good. We're good.
Mm-hmm. Why cannot grasp VHilla? She is a interesting boss.
Interesting's a word, yeah.
Yeah, I took my time to really get into VHilla on my Demon Avenger, because as you can imagine, if you know a little bit, she's tricky. I thought that it was impossible as a Demon Avenger because, you know, no healing.
Right.
And low HP equals death, right? Now I'm at the point, you know, there's some event buffs and everything, but now I'm at the point where just through positioning, timing, and practice, and a lot of it, and this is the same for Black Mage practice basically, it comes down to threat assessment and prioritizing things to dodge. Some things you don't want to get hit by, but if there's another thing you want to get hit by even less, then you want to get hit by the thing that you don't want to get hit by, right? So if there's a thing you don't want to get hit by because there's a 10% chance you can die, but there's another thing that has a 90% chance of you dying, that you want to jump into the thing that only has 10% of you dying. That makes sense. So that comes from experience, and that comes from reading guides, but a lot of it is just doing it over and over again and dying a bunch of times and realizing, oh, this is actually not that scary, this is pretty avoidable, or this is not avoidable, and that's when your iframes come in. And as a hero, thank God, you have a very short cooldown.
A very short one. Yeah.
Which means, and I usually draw the analogy, and if you ever played League of Legends with your flash, it's like if you, the worst thing you could do is lose a game and have never used your flash, right?
I mean, never played the game, but I appreciate the analogy.
I mean, it's like a short cooldown skill, basically, that helps you get
same
into
as like an
or
iframe.
out of.
Yeah,
It's an iframe. If you just never use it, you're gonna have missed out on some possibility, and you could have prevented some deaths. If you're always holding on to it for the perfect fucking moment, then you end up just waiting forever and nothing happens. Yeah. So all of this to say, there's gonna be a lot of moments where you're like, oh shit, and it's best to just use it. And then if after that you have an even bigger oh shit moment and then you don't have it on cooldown, then you know that for next time. And then you know to mitigate the uses. I actually believe I should have, let's see if I can actually look it up. Scarred or VHilla. I believe I have a run, of my hero, when it was level 250, of soloing VHilla. They can make some money, strip the fuck out. Oh, bad word. And I show all my gear and my stuff after that. I think this is a pretty long run, though. Yeah, this is all before 6 job and everything as well, right? So this is a 26-minute run. But I see a lot of it. So I like to use the rush skill a lot. Just to reposition. And then you have that tether, the teleport skill that like dashes you to a target. I like using that one. You know, at the right times, of course.
Right.
It's not a... Yep. And then your iframe, of course. So a lot of it comes down to knowing the hitboxes, knowing the timings, knowing the tempo of the boss fight. Now they added the cooldown, so you can see how much longer until the next skill happens, the next screen crack. So that is something to that you don't have to think about as much. Here you have to kind of gauge based on the sand in the glass. Yeah, you see me here being stunned with the one skull. You know, it gets a little close. Healing, cleansing, up jumping. So I don't know if there are like specific patterns that just kind of mess you up, or is it just the general damage, or?
Well, first off, I actually looked up hero VHilla solos, and I did not see this one. That's kind of insane. But it is mostly just hands. Yeah. So I will definitely watch this later. It's actually that attack she does where it's like the hitbox is way bigger than you think it is, and then you get stunned, and then she knocks you across the map.
Yeah, the blue. That
really messes me up a lot of the times. Like I've gotten down to like 30% a lot of times, and then I just run out of run out of lives. Like,
Yeah. It's one of those
so,
bosses that can get out of hand really, really quickly just for like a few bad patterns, right? Like being on 5 skulls, even after, yeah, especially if the one or 2 cracks, is actually worse than being on 4 because I can just cleanse faster on 4. Being on 3 is a little spooky because then you have to go down to 1 every time to cleanse, which is just, yeah, not desirable. So ideally you play on 5 or 4 is the best place to be at. But now with the cooldown, you could definitely see like, oh, it's almost, you know, time for a map. Try to get a thread. If you see her teleport, then I would just always just run to the other side of the map, pick a thread there. If she comes to you, run to the other side of the map there. Just don't risk ever like her CCing you when you're trying to get cleanse. And yeah, and then cleanse on the other side of the map or cleanse close to the screen crack, you know, not too close, but like within 10 seconds. And then just play it safe, just focus on dodging and then set up again. I always use the screen crack to reapply like my general buffs, for example, just so that those never run out while I'm actually bursting or attacking, right? So I don't even know these names. It was Soul Blade and Scarring Sword or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, Scarring Sword and Spirit Blade.
No, close enough. Soul,
Close.
Spirit, it's the same shit, yeah. So to just always reapply those while there's nothing else you can do. Well, you can still do things, but you can't hit the boss, right? So that's a good time to either start setting up your burst or do all of that stuff. The main thing for this boss is just to focus on staying very, very close to the boss. And you'll find that a solo long party is probably easier. Long run is easier than to run with a bunch of randos who have no idea what they're doing, because they will make the boss teleport all over the place. Cleansing will be a lot harder, and it's really hard to do long runs with people who are not coordinating properly. So the main thing with the blue attack is it's a double setup, right? So here you see her charging. At this point, there's a bunch of options. So at this point, you can iframe, you can use the will skill to immune the upcoming stun, you can dash through her. If I teleport on her, I'm probably still within the box, so I'm still gonna get slapped, so the teleport doesn't work here. I could up jump and then just land after the initial stun, or I can up jump and blink throughout the entire thing. Those are all options here. But the main thing is just recognizing this attack and speed. I think for me, because I don't see anything behind her, I'm probably gonna, because I just attacked, I'm probably rushing behind her, is my guess. Oh, I didn't. I up jumped. But I didn't up jump and blink and stay there, because then you drag her more into the corner. You want to try to keep the boss in the middle of the map, especially if you're not trying to cleanse, right? If you're trying to cleanse, you want to keep her in the corners of the map so you can run her from one side to the other. So I go over, and then during this, nothing happens, right? This is just channeling. Either you're already stunned, or you're getting ready to get smacked. But once you avoid that initial stun, this doesn't do anything. And it's this part that does all of the damage. Now again, if you're a hero though, and there's probably somewhere in this run a place where I get smacked, if you do get smacked, you can spam the hell out of your teleport skill, and it'll just teleport you right to her while you're in the air getting flung away. If you're close enough to her, you'll just snap right back onto her. Of course, if there are threads right on top of her, you might not want to do that. But if there are threads behind you in the direction that you are going, you might want to do that. I don't know if the down slash works, because that's also a thing, but I don't really have that bound. So that's like that weird warrior down and basic attack thing, right?
I don't have that bound either, so
yeah.
I'll try that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that works. Blink could work to like stop momentum. And it also stops some stuns, right? So that could be nice. I think she blues again immediately here. That's a little bit in an awkward position. So I dash here to get close enough to her. I think I still get hit by the initial stun. But because of the momentum, even though I get hit with the initial stun, I get dragged out of the distance of her actual swing. So even though I can't move, I'm not getting swung around. And because there was just a string here, there's not another string backup. So, of course, because of my experience, I don't use the World Reaver every single time like that. I use it for damage sometimes. So here there was another blue pattern. And because I saw this was first, I knew this was going to go away before this. So I could just dash, which puts me in danger of this threat. But because this one was later, I could just dash again because of the attack speed. Because going up would have taken me into those threads. But definitely exploit your vertical mobility, because you see for a lot of strings, actually, when you go up, sometimes they narrow down, but most of the time they actually get wider on top. And then with blink, if you blink up in the air, and you just move a little bit to the right and to the left, you can position more calmly because there's nothing else happening up there. There's no, VHilla up there trying to kill you. And the other thing that's really good about being on top of the boss is if she does the poison thingies to the side. Let me see if I can see one of those patterns there. But it's blue again. So this is up jump, but too late. So I'm still going to get hit, but there's nothing happening in the corner, so it's fine. See, here I do the teleport. You see that?
Yeah.
So you get a drag up in the air, you just slap back right into her. Sometimes it'll teleport to one of the little poison duders on the ground. It's not ideal, but it's usually still better than getting flung through the map because God knows what's going to happen on the other side. Oh yeah, remember when you're attacking that you have a bit of a dump truck? Your model is kind of behind you. So that the strings, like while you're attacking, it's sometimes a good idea to just stop attacking for just a little bit and just slightly reposition and then start attacking again. So here I don't teleport because poison here, poison there, and strings. Just put me to the side, that's fine. And I'll wait for that to be over and then I'll get back in there, So it's about the timing. And sometimes it's about being able to see through the mist. And there I use my World Reaver. Was that necessary? No, but you have it every 30 seconds or even... No, it's shorter even, right? It's 20 seconds now?
Yeah. Depending on, I think it's 25, depending on your... I don't know if buff duration affects that, but it's 25 seconds.
Yeah, but I guess, hat cooldown could...
or cooldown hat, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so for this attack, her hitbox, there's actually a complete safe hitbox on her body, but just behind it. So you see where I'm standing here? I should be taking 0 damage here. Well, I rolled Reaver, so that's a little fake. But if she does that green attack again, and this is what I definitely had to learn as a Demon Avenger, is that you cannot get hit by that a bunch of times. So you have to play on top of the model of the boss, and you have to keep immuning that. Otherwise, it's just really, really hard to maintain your HP. So for this, I don't go there because there's a bunch of poison. But now having her in the corner is just not ideal. So there would be a lot of non-ideal situations though. And again, this run is way longer, and once you get the mechanics down, you should be able to kill it way faster. Here I usually just rush. The hitboxes of these guys, these poison guys, is a lot smaller than it looks. I could probably stand in between these guys and not get hit by either one. So right now, but then now you don't want to stand there, right? Because now it's like death trap central. So.
Right.
It's always there's just a lot of factors going on, but if you ever need to retreat, recompose yourself, maybe rebuff, get her to teleport on you, go back to the middle of the map, maybe set up some stuff. Yeah, hopefully this one helps. I mean, it's a hard Varus Hilla solo. Yeah, I don't know. And it says hero, MapleStory Reboot bossing. I don't know why this one didn't show up.
To be fair, I clicked on the first one that I think Said Poppy, his guide, I think, but
VHilla hero or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is. Oh, yeah. I mean, mine pops up second, but that could be because it's my fucking video. Sometimes I get my own videos recommended to me in my YouTube feed, and I'm like, thank you, but I mean, I literally uploaded that myself. I don't know why you're recommending that to me.
Right. Yeah. Okay, I'll definitely watch that because I need to learn how to do that. That's like the one boss I really have not gotten a grasp of. So
yeah, I feel like hero is very safe. Like the combination of the teleport, the short iframe, and the generally decently sized hitboxes of everything. You have a lot of repositioning abilities that are just like horizontal, but for this boss, it's actually really nice. So yeah, rush. Up jump and blink if you need to, and the snap teleport. Yeah, just experiment that with a little bit, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. Oh yeah, and one last thing, definitely like healing fams if you have them. That is me running with 3 healing fams on. That is a huge, that makes it way easier to run that boss. You can get away with so much more. Yeah. I don't know if you've, I guess that segues into familiars. How are you doing on those?
I'm very lucky. Okay. So I screenshot of all of them because I'm not really sure which setup I should be using for
Okay.
grinding and which FAMs I should be using for which bosses.
Okay, we can look at that.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're soloing for VHilla, you want to just slam as much healing as possible, unless you're sacrificing a lot of boss. But even then, like on my arc now, I run just boss damage, but even then I don't full one burst it, so then if I get hit by something, I have to get one more cleanse in and then another little burst before I actually kill the boss. So getting to the point where you really just use boss damage over healing FAMs if you're soloing the boss is like, super, super far into the game. So I would always just slam healing just to give yourself the extra guarantee of having a run that can't go shit sideways, essentially.
Okay.
So with that in mind, you do have 3 large healers?
I believe I do, yes.
Oh, yeah, you have these 2 here. Yeah, and then the one on the bottom that also has... Oh, and then it has another... So you have 4 heals on there. Yeah. Yeah, that should... Like, any kind of poison that you're standing in, like clouds or those little guys on the ground, that should not be killing you. Or the damage to the smack, you know, unless you're, you know, standing in it all the time. Please move, you know. But that means that you can focus pretty well on the cleansing if you do get hit by things, but you can just focus on the damage and the positioning, and you don't have to worry too much about your HP. So they'll definitely... So I would use that for VHilla, and to some extent maybe on hard will if you're doing the solos there, for just specifically for P2.
Right. Okay.
So then I would use those. For everything else, for C10A, if you're still practicing and trying to get better, I would probably use at least 1 large healer, maybe 2, just to give yourself a little bit more survivability on, mainly on Dark Knell, because some of the patterns are kind of whack. For Gloom, you probably don't need it at all anymore. I would just go full damage.
No, that boss is kind of a joke, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, since they neutered like the balls during Dark Phase, it got a lot easier. So I'm guessing you're using 30 boss, 40 IED with large drop. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and then usually just a large healing FAM.
And then a large healing. Yeah, or you could use... so if you don't need that at all, you could use either your critical damage. I guess you don't have any percent strength?
I do have a percent strength.
You have percent attack? Oh, here, this one. We have no percent attack, I think, right?
No percent attack, no.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so you could use either a healing if you just want to get a little bit of juice out of it. You could use the critical damage if you want to get a little bit more damage out of it. You really don't need the healing, and you can use that guy. Yeah, percentage attack, if you hit like a 5-6% attack or something, they'll probably beat out the percent critical damage. Not by an insane amount, but probably by a little bit. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty good coverage. Probably because of the high IED on Hero anyway, because of the passive, you could probably straight up replace that 40 IED if you do hit a 30 boss. You just have to look at if your metrics can support that, right?
Yeah, that was also kind of another question I had, like, being 275 and still wanting to grind. Isn't it 11 levels, right, where your meso gets reduced,
yes.
Right? So I think I'm at that threshold right now for Cernium. I mean, like, I got a boss fam, like, within, you know, a couple weeks of grinding. Like, I really don't have much to complain about, but my IED is very high. Like, I even readjusted my hyper stats, some of my Legion, specifically for Hero. The IED fam's not really helpful to me. So...
No, but yeah,
the
thing is that it's more helpful than the alternative, right?
Yeah, true. It's true.
The alternative is like a 6% attack, and then you get more damage from adjusting those things and using the 40% IED than not using it. So right now, I would just use it and adjust your numbers accordingly as you can in hyperstats and Legion. That's the good move. And then if you hit a 30 boss, then you switch it on for the 40 IED, and then you just readjust. And bring it back.
Do you think that's more of like later in the game thing I should focus on though?
Yeah, I mean, focusing on that. Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, even if you do hit another boss, you're just going to use the 2 boss and the IED. So then you're still not going to be adjusting. So that's only if you're going to go for at least 2 more boss ones. which is a pretty big commitment because that could be anywhere from like realistically at least like 20 up to like 300 uniques or something. So that's a pretty big commitment. And I think if you want to bring up a second character, you'll be more likely to try to get some kind of useful familiars on the secondary first before you start trying to min-max the last slot for the familiars on the main character, I think, right? Because again,
sure.
that's probably only necessary if you're going to go for those 280 plus bosses. That's probably when that comes into play, where you're going to be like, okay, do I level a side character in Cernium or Burning Cernium, and then siphon off the familiars, throw them onto my main character? Or am I going to go back there and just dedicate like a certain percentage of the time that I grind on fragments and familiars, and then another percentage of the time on experience and fragments?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's probably only after 280 I would write that. I would chalk that up too. Oh, you hit the 20 boss and 15 experience obtained. I was looking for that for so long I couldn't hit it. Got 10% EXP, 20 boss, and 5 IED.
I got that the first day. So
I got mine the second day, and then it's just nothing after that. The last day I rolled 3 triples. No, 2 triples, and they were just all garbage stats. Well, they were both
garbage.
the exact same roll back to back, which was weird, but yeah, just garbage. Like HP and MP, and it's like it doesn't even matter what the other two are. Like it's a no-go. Even on a Demon Avenger, it's like that's just sad. And then for mobbing, so if you're actively working on familiars, you're probably using at least one familiar to level it up while you're training, right?
Well, actually, I'm not fam farming anymore. I moved on to Shangri-La as of this, I think a couple days ago. So not getting any card drops. So I was mostly wondering about the auto steal.
Yep.
I don't know anything about auto steal. But I've heard it's like good. Like people like try to get that for certain classes. So
yeah, there's kind of currently conflicting meta on it. I would always get auto steal on top of large drop just because we know that it gives you more meso. So if you're training, you'll just get more money, which I think is just always good. Some people are arguing that because of probability and expected outcomes and amount of rolls or something, that it could also mean that you get more fragments. I haven't seen any evidence for that. I feel like people need to show either 2 fragments coming from the same monster, like one from auto steal and one from the kill, or 2 from auto steal without a kill, before you can conclusively prove that auto steal creates extra fragments. Otherwise, as far as we know it, auto steal can only get an item from a mob if the mob was already going to drop it anyway when it died, which kind of means that auto steal would be shit on if you can kill the target. The reason we use it is because on Meso, it does the same thing, but it doesn't take that money out of the money that you would get when it drops, so it generates extra Meso. So that's where auto steal is right now, basically.
all right. I mean, I might as well just equip it, you know, because like I got 2 slots besides the large drop one when I farm. So
yeah. So as long as you have that, if you need damage, like when you're killing, then you can use the strength and the critical damage here. If you need a little bit of extra juice to make sure you kill the monsters, but otherwise I would just use the auto steal ones, just to get a little bit more cash out of it.
Okay.
All right. Well, your fee matrix is probably decked the fuck out, I would be guessing.
Yeah, also I just maxed out the, what's that called? Urda Nova, the bind. So with all those free experience nodes we got. So now that's level 25. Yeah,
technically
that,
24 is maxed, but yeah. Because 24
too late now.
Yeah, 24 in a level 5 slot, plus the cooldown reduction you get from the Mercedes already gives you a higher uptime than the cooldown on a boss until it can get bound again. So technically you never need to get it to all the way to 25. 24 is technically the highest you can need it at. But that's just a minor thing. Maybe for the next character, Okay. As a general priority thing here, though, always put the nodes that have like a passive bonus that is associated with their level higher than ones that don't. So over here, like your Sharp Eyes, Speed Infusion, Disadvantage Blessing and Combat Orders, I would always put those on like the lowest possible row. And everything
Okay.
else, even if you barely use it, that gives you like passive bonuses or cooldown reduction or something like that, I will always put those higher. So like Blink gives you 1 attack per level, so just switching that, it gives you 5 weapon attack. That's just free. Rope Lift gives you 1 stat per level, so that's 5 all stat that you get for free if you just switch those over. Versus the other ones, they get more uptime, which boo-hoo, they're on auto buff anyway. And they give you like 1 extra stat for like 15 levels. So it doesn't, yeah, they're lower priority for that. Again, that's just a small thing, but you know, just that little bit could give you already a little bit more damage just for free, just by rearranging things slightly. Yeah, I'm guessing you don't use the shield that much. I'm not enough of a hero player to know specifically where the Blitz Shield is super useful, because I think it converts your HP to shield, so it doesn't technically increases the total HP pool. You'd have to use the shield and then heal right after to be able to withstand tanking bigger attacks, right?
Yeah, I really haven't done that much research on it. Even in like the hero Discord, like there's not much information on that skill, so I don't really know. It's kind of just there for now.
Yeah, I was using it as an extra meme AoE attack, right? Because if you use it a second time after like 2 seconds or something, it explodes, and it gave you an extra mobbing skill. So I used that for a little bit, but then, you know, the rework and basically the big rework on Puncture, you know, was just so much better that it just made so much more sense to just then spam Puncture instead. And now, of course, with Soul Giannis and all that, it just doesn't make any more sense at all to really bother with that too much. Like something that needs a setup of an entire skill, and then you need to wait time to switch back. It's just too tedious. Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to do anything with that skill. It's also like a common warrior skill, so you think that since multiple classes have it and it's kind of dead. But then you have Venom for the thieves, and you're like, oh, I guess they don't care. They did the entire Destiny rework and they didn't do anything to Venom. So it's like, okay, I guess they don't care about a skill just being completely dead and only one class using it for like 3% critical damage. So that's what that is apparently. Where are we at? We're already pretty deep in. VHilla, grinding, yeah. Lib. I guess we get to like the specific details because we like meandered a little bit trying to find the connections to everything. I'll just go through these screenshots, see if anything like pops out at me like you need to hardcore change this right now. Which, you know, oh, that's a healthy amount of Dominators. You don't see that very often. That's
yeah, I got very lucky. 20.
Oh, you're gonna need him too.
Yeah, I know, for like Source of Suffering, right? Gonna need them.
Yeah, you can never have too many, bro. Yeah. Kana Rings not as many, but that might be because you just sent a whole lot of them.
Yeah, on the 5, 10, 15, I think I had 7 or 8. Got my drop ring to 22. Like didn't even boom. Then I just boomed like the other, even safeguarded and everything. Boomed all of them. Also, all my Meister rings. I think I had 6 or 7. Now I only have 1, and I have not enough Grand Spell Essences or Primal Essences. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't even know how you get Primal Essences anymore because of the
Why were you
Thanes.
Yeah, well, you can get these days. I'm stuttering. These days you got a lot of primals just from the bosses. So if you start doing the higher level bosses like Sea Gloom and everything up, basically you get a lot of primals from that. Okay. But of course in the beginning you're sharing, so it's good also if you do those bosses just to talk to the party, because sometimes people are like, oh, they're just primals, and then they just yoink them. But if you actually need them, make sure you let people know beforehand, like, hey, I need primals, because I don't know, this is like a thing that people do. I fucking hate it, but people just assume that because it doesn't have much value to them, that it must not have value to other people, so they can just take it. And then I'm like, well, if it doesn't have value for you, then why are you taking it? Then let other people,
right.
You know, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So just make sure you communicate that up front, and if someone doesn't care or disregards that, then you know not to party with them, because that's just going to be a whole shitstorm down the road. If they don't even care to even ask or, you know, take into consideration that could be a thing that somebody wants, that's just a whole... I don't think you have to deal with that, so... but again, that's more of a personal thing on how you deal with, you know, people maybe disregarding... etiquette or something like that, if you will, right? Make sure I maxed out that crit damage in the Legion, by the way. There's a little bit missing here.
Yeah, I gotta do use the website to fill it out properly.
Yeah. Xenogent, the build up, yeah. And for
Yeah.
mobbing, also the critical damage, right? The critical damage is going to give you more than the midsection will. So like what I have, so if you look at my mobbing setup here, this is not my mobbing setup. This is my Legion raid power setup with more Legion raid power, so I get more coins passively. Yes, I am that tryhard. So this is now my bossing damage setup. Yeah, bigger Legion, of course, more pieces, bigger pieces. So you take out of this, but yeah, so filling this out and then going into buff duration for our good friend terms and conditions, right? Try to extend the duration of that, helping out. So this will probably not be maxed for quite a long time. You might need a section a little bit more like this, just out of buff duration into critical rate instead. Make sure the critical rate is up to snuff, right? And then this is for a mage that's builds on buff duration, but it would have also gotten to the same build up now, so it's actually very, very similar to this one now. But this one just has a different priority, so you see here is a lot of blue, so this is all of the intellect characters in it, and this is way more red and some green, so this is all the strength and the dex in it. And then this is the one for mobbing, so you basically start out with like a, yeah, kind of like a sideways T shape, like just a vertical line, and then just going straight to the left. And then again, if you have enough damage, you could just slam EXP obtained. If you don't have enough damage, then I would somewhat equally between critical damage and normal damage go up as long as you hit 100% crit, and then dump the rest into EXP. And if all of that is maxed, then you can dump it to the middle into like main stat and weapon or magic attack.
Okay.
So just slightly readjust the priorities. But if you're going to be redoing the board, might as well give it a big overhaul, right? And just get it all done in one go.
Yeah, I just get frustrated whenever I adjust it, because just the like when you press like the flip or rotate, I don't know, man, it just doesn't seem very coherent, but I gotta do it.
Yeah, I like Tetris, so I spent a lot of time yesterday redoing mine because I finally got my first level 250 Thief, which is a pain in the ass piece. It's like this weird T-shaped thing. I guess a little bit of a tip, if you are going to be redoing the whole thing, try to see if there are any pieces near the edge. And if there are characters that you are going to level soon and they're going to hit a new landmark that they're going to hit the next rank, try to put those pieces near the edge so they just bleed into the open area instead of having to redo the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
That's a little tip, I guess. And technically what you could also do in the selector is just select an area itself and then just see how that would get filled in. Put those pieces in and then take those pieces out of your setup and then do a next block, right? That's how I did it in the past if I wanted to have just one setup where I moved some pieces around. But now because the presets are permanent and everything, it's probably not necessary anymore. But you could cordon it off to just a section, right, if you wanted to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Legion's looking healthy. You already got your priority on what you're building on there. Not too heavy on the boss mules. Slowly building up characters for the Legion grid. Working on the 0. That makes sense. Legion stats. So you got boss damage, ID, buff duration, meso and the drop are getting leveled now. I'm assuming, right? Those are probably.
Yep. I even just got
this one is
level
probably
34.
Yeah.
So. Yep. Yeah. So I just leveled up one. Otherwise than that.
20 crit, 4 critical damage. And then EXP, yeah, and then max target, yeah, okay. You missing anything there? There is final attack for hero, but I think it's not a priority, right?
No, I believe that's like level 40. You start putting that in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If I'm not mistaken.
So is there anything there that you're overlooking? Oh, I guess no cooldown reduction chance, but I guess on hero that's not really. What would it even work on?
I guess for
Rising
mobbing,
Rage?
For Rising Rage, yeah.
Yeah.
For mobbing. Like, if you, for certain maps, you want a -4 cooldown hat.
Skip.
Just, or
wait, sorry,
just
yeah,
to make
not
it,
cooldown
like,
reduction,
easy.
cooldown skip, sorry, yeah, cooldown skip for, Beam Blade? Yeah, okay, so.
Or that too. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever put that on a key in my character. Alright, and then equips. let's see. Is there anything in particular with your equips that you had questions on?
Yeah. Okay. Since I have a boss fam now, should I still be using this absolutely awful double boss damage secondary, or should I be using my attack one? And then
Yeah, no, that's
since
a
I have
reroll. Yeah, use the attack and start rerolling on this one.
okay,
If you had like 2 attack, 2 boss, 1 attack, then you can switch over. You probably still have enough damage for mobbing. And if you hit 2 attack, 1 boss, then you basically hit the Holy Grail until you're drowning in Mezzo and you want to hit a perfect 3-liner. But then you always have the other one to switch on. I think this is good enough. The 21 attack is good enough to start rolling off of this one. Yeah, it's technically double prime, but yeah, like you said, it's pure boss, and you've got boss there in the fam. So this is in the 3rd line. 9 strength looks nice, but if it's like 24 attack and 9 strength, then it's nice. But if it's just purely boss, that's probably, yeah, you can roll over that for sure.
Okay. Do you think I should make that a priority, or do you think I should wait for like cube sale that might come around in a couple months, or?
Yeah, end of November, so that's 2 months is usually cube sale. Well, since you're holding on to this one for mobbing and bossing, you could definitely use all your like leftover solid cubes and throw them all in here. If you feel the itch to gamble a little bit, you can also just buy like an extra few stacks here and there, but I wouldn't like fully commit a lot of money. I mean, I could look at the rest of your gear first, and then we can always cycle back to see if where it would land in like the total priority list. But you can always check the kind of like the expected cost, right? Just to see if it makes sense. The calculator, use this every now and then?
I looked at it. Yeah, it did not make sense. So I don't know. I was just hoping to maybe get lucky, but you know, statistically probably won't get lucky.
We always hope that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 21 attack, 30 boss. That would be like the ideal thing to aim for. You see, that's like around 36 bill, with like a deviation up to 50, not being that crazy. So yeah, that's like 3,000 cubes. So that's already quite a bit of money. But if you're looking for 2, or if you're looking for 3 lines, can you do 3 lines attack or boss? Yeah, it should already be quite a lot less. So this is most likely going to be at the 3-line boss, which is of course, you know, not ideal. Probably better than 21 attack when you're bossing, of course, but for mobbing it's absolutely nothing. But that's like closer to 5 bill, so that's either 3-line attack, 3-line boss, or 3-line attack as well, but that's only a very small part of that. 2-line boss, 1 attack, or 2-line attack, 1-line boss. So most likely this is going to be 2-line boss, 1-line attack. If you want it specifically 2-line boss, 1-line attack, where is that? 2-line attack with 1-line attack. No, 1-line attack with 2-line attack or boss. Wait, where is 2-line attack or boss? God, there's so many fucking options here, but there's not the one that I'm looking for. 2-line boss. Oh, 1-line attack with 2-line boss. There we go. Yeah, that's like 12 bill. So that's not too crazy, but that's probably a bit more than, like, let's say double crit damage on... Yeah, it's about the exact same as double crit damage on gloves. So double crit damage on gloves is probably bigger damage increase, right? So that's a bit of a higher priority, but then that's probably right after that is where you can see that upgrade.
Which I already have that, so...
Yeah, okay. So
yeah.
That upgrade-wise, it might be next, but next doesn't mean now. It could mean after a bunch of star forcing, right? So let's double check everything else. You got yourself a nice maple weapon, very nice. Maple Dragon Axe. Gets you 6 with strength. No damages on there, and you're not liberating yet, so we could look at this as a Black Flame target for a while, and potentially, since you're not liberating yet, star forcing, if you get backups, towards 19, maybe to 21, but probably towards 19, be looking at that. Potential-wise... yeah, that's not bad. If potential-wise you're trying to go for 2-line attack with 1-line boss is harder. That is more pricey. Oh, it's 200. Sorry, easier. It's easier than secondary, but you don't really want to have to settle for 2 boss on the weapon. Yeah, so that is more expensive, but that's still going to be cheaper than 3-line attack on emblem, which ideally you don't have to go for anymore, or at least not in the same way, because, you know, if you're going towards Saren, you can start just putting your focus towards there. And of course in Korea they recently changed that every class is going to be able to rebuy as many emblems as they want, so you're going to be able to just roll on the side, similar to secondaries, but even cheaper because emblems have less variance, so that'll be pretty nice.
Okay, nice.
So this is all looking good. Yeah, I mean, I'd be remiss not to say that I don't like this. I don't like 122 and the rest 17.
Well, I had a lot of shoe spares, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do you have specifically a lot of shoe spares?
Well, that's just. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing, to be fair. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I sent it, and then I had 3 extra shoe spares. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the really shitty thing is that boxes are time limited. They should not be. It's fucking stupid. But that's the reality that we live in. So again, the general highest efficiency, like safest way to go about this is that if you get a lot of backups for one item, it'll just go and all your backups are wasted. So it's best to just pick one of each that you're still haven't completed yet and just keep going down the list until you inevitably get to full 22 and then don't need them anymore, and then you can extract them. So just, you know, pick a glove, pick a cape, pick a shoulder, and then just go around, ring around the rosy. Excuse me, 17 up to 19, I would always do if you have at least one backup and there's an event, just to give it a try. 19 to 21, for me, that's like a bare minimum 2 backups, probably going towards 3, but like for 2 backups you can definitely try, because if you do fail, you go back down to 17. It's not a huge loss, but it is a loss, and I'd like to avoid those. If you're going 21 to 22, then I'm typically looking for at least 4 backups. That's like kind of where my head is at. And I want the other upgrades to already be there. Like if you have 2 more cape backups and it's 17 and you have 4 backups for some reason, which you shouldn't have, right? There shouldn't be such a big disparity, but maybe different booms for the gloves, and that ones are 21. I would always still just do the lower one, just because if you do lose, you lose less. And I don't know, I prefer smaller losses over smaller gains, if that makes sense. But everyone has a different risk profile and different threat assessment kind of thing, risk aversion in when it comes to upgrading. Yeah, that's just like my general advice. But like even walking these up to 19 is, because sometimes it seems weird. Like people get to arcane, it's like, oh, I finally have full arcane. What's the next upgrade? Walking arcane up to 19 is like, what? I just got it. Like that's gonna be so insane. And it is. But once you start scaling up on those bosses, you do get backups, and it does become the next thing to do pretty reasonably. Because getting your arcanes up to 19 is definitely priority over getting some of your other, like 21 superiors up to 22. That's super risky, right? And then how many months of helixing is that, and how many arcane backups could you realistically get in that same amount of time? So it seems weird, but yeah, it just kind of works out that way in terms of the backups and everything. So suffers wise, it's definitely like getting these 3 pieces up to 19 and then maybe towards 21, but you'll have to see where everything else is at. Speaking of risky, here's all the 22 superior. Except for the ring. Yeah, that makes sense. The ring is a little spooky. There's different strats here. What did you end up doing? Transfer into 20, tap it up, or?
Right, exactly. And I hit on 3 out of 4.
Yep.
The one that did not hit is the ring. That's why I have no Meisters and no Kana rings.
Okay, that's where all
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
My general advice at this point, especially considering the potential, is just to get 1 backup ring and to just do everything on the backup ring. That way, in case it doesn't work, you can just keep using your current one, and if it does work, you shift over, and then this one becomes drop or mezzo.
Okay.
So that way you can always maximize the upside and minimize the downside. Because the alternative, if it doesn't go, which is, you know, what you want to cancel for, is that you end up in the same situation, but you have to pay for the star forcing backup or for the potentialing backup every time. So there's like that extra added cost. So like if you're playing the super long game, what people might do is 21 to 20, and then if you have a bunch of backups, tap it for 20 to 21. Usually when I'm in that situation, I stay in that situation for a very, very, very long time until I have enough backups to get like a 22 to 21 on like kind of treasure rings on a second 21, and then try to tap that one at 22. If it goes, switch. If it doesn't go, keep your current one. That's kind of like my... it's very risk averse, but you're also looking for a very min-maxy upgrade that isn't necessary per se. It's just like a thing that makes monetary sense and mathematical, and that would be nice to have. But it's not like if my 22 superior ring was a 21, I wouldn't be able to kill this boss. That's not how it works, right? So, but if you do that for every equip, then it becomes that. So you just want to make sure that there's like a few problem equips, and if those aren't done, that's okay, as long as it, but if everything else is done, then it's fine, you know? Because right now, your Star Force, yeah, on the Arcanes, there's some Star Force here to be gained, but like this stuff is already very high up. This is all 22. So you're definitely looking at potential cubing gains. For Twilight Marks, you're just looking for more backups, I assume.
Yeah, I actually just did my weeklies, and I got 2. So I have 2 more spares now.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that point, it'll be up to you. You have a good flame and a good potential. You don't have an insane flame and an insane potential. So there's 2 major ways you go about it. What I probably do is at least try to tap the existing to 19. You know, maybe you get a boom, maybe you don't, but then at least you have a 19 in hand. 19 plus is where I think it starts getting scary. So then you could do the same thing, that you just try to like 22, like a second one, by itself. If it goes, then you switch over, move this one to drop or mezzo maybe later get it to 21 with more backups, right? Or you just keep tapping on the existing one, but then potentially going from the 19 back down to 17. That's again purely a thing that you want to do. Maybe by the next time the event comes around, you actually have 4 backups. That changes the dynamic. If you still have 2, then maybe you consider those 2 ways of going around it, right? Again, if you have like a 30 or 33% potential, and you have a flame that's like, you know, over 120 or something, then you basically just go always on the piece, and you just disregard that entire side tangent of possibility.
Right.
Yeah, more possibility gains. More potential gain possibility. There you go. 32. Hard. Yeah, double press. Yeah, that'll always hit that for some reason. Still earrings. Yeah, still earrings is another one of those where you will probably get some backup, so eventually get a 19, maybe even a 21. Will just make sense to make that, and that'll like compensate for the other pieces, right? Although a double drop on condensed power crystal is very nice because you're mostly just using that to open boxes anyway. So who needs damage when you're doing that?
Yeah.
Group Pendant Mezzo is a little bit unfortunate because you don't want to have to grind in that, of course.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually you phase that out, but the thing is that where you're at now, like I'm talking about, like if those projects work in that way, then you immediately unlock a very strong dropper mezzo piece that can start taking the pressure off of some of these other pieces now that are kind of like problematic, right? And the other way that can happen is if you hit a pitch piece, and then that'll take a very strong damage piece off the market, make it unemployed, and then you can start using that to fill in like any kind of gap in your drop or mezzo equips without having to go completely out of your way, invest a whole bunch of money into a new piece just to gain a little bit of damage. So that's something that you have the luxury to do and to wait for that if you're not really purposefully trying to push your character and grind for that end game. Then you can play a little bit more safe, a little bit more long game, and then those opportunities will come and you can get a lot of efficiency out of that. If you're trying to always push, always be in the latest area, always do the most damage, right, and kill it the earliest you possibly can, you can't play it that way because you just won't have the damage. You need like 21 and 22 drop gear all the time, otherwise you just don't have the damage to keep up your kill potential.
Okay. So, yeah. That brings. What is your opinion on 22 or Trace pitch set?
So I think you want to get to that point, but you have to lay the foundations to be able to do that. So if you have, obviously if you have 21 star superior or something and you get it pitched, you probably just want to have that pitch just sit in your inventory and just wait until it becomes even a thing that you can move into, and you don't want to waste your money, because even if it goes, your money's just sitting in your inventory doing nothing, right? That's just a waste. You can't invest it, you can't get any damage out of it in the short term. It's just a waste. It's like when people show like a trace and it has like perfect potential and a perfect flame on it, it's like, what are you doing? Now your trace is worth like 60 bill.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's such a huge waste, right? So, and we know the further you get into the game, the idea behind it makes sense, because your potential has to go before you can even switch into it. And again, some people might not want to go all the way in this game, and that makes sense. And 21 is going to be good enough for them, especially if you're talking about side characters who like luckily hit something. And then 21 and good potential and good flame makes sense. And then if you ever get another one, then that one is 22 or trace, right? But some people don't want to get locked into investing in a 21 and then be like, kind of like with Superior, where it's like, do I now need to get like 8 backups to realistically make that last star upgrade? Or do I get 1 backup and then inevitably go back down to 17, right? Which sucks, right? Or do I always just tap 1 on the side, and then if it goes, I have to rebuy the potential and the flame? That doesn't feel good either. So a lot of people just don't want to deal with any of those side quests, so they just go 22 or trace. So I understand that, and I don't think that's like terribly wrong, but I think you need to lay the foundation to be able to go 22 or trace. So if you need to make sure that if you get a Berserk, you want to go 22 or trace, I would say you need to have a 21 Twilight Mark. If you do, then any Berserk you get is 22 or trace, guaranteed.
Okay.
Right. But if you have a 17 Twilight Mark and you get a Berserk, then I don't think that Berserk is 22 or trace. Then I would say that Berserk is probably 19. But if you had 19, before you invest in the potential, before you invest in the flame, now you can take your Twilight Mark up to 19. If the Twilight Mark booms, you equip the Berserk, and you wait for Twilight Mark backups until Twilight Mark hits 19. Maybe even go 21 on the Twilight Mark. If that hits, now you can go 21 on the Berserk. And now you're like, okay, now they're kind of like even. Maybe you have another few pitches of peace pitches. Maybe you settle on 21. Or you're like, well, 21 Berserk, no pitch set. You're actually breaking the Twilight Mark set. It's actually still not an upgrade. I'd rather just use the Twilight. I'm going to fucking try to go for 22 on the Berserk, right? But you kind of use the previous pieces as backups for pitched, even though they're not pitched. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
And that's why I like the Sweetwater set, because you can use Transpose Monocle, Transpose Twilight Mark, Sweetwater Pendants. I don't know why I messed that one up. Basically as kind of like backups for 22 Daybreaks, as backups for eye patches, right? Even though they are different pieces set, they're equipping the same spot, and they can allow you to go 22 or trace and to really risk that without risking all of the marbles. You're only risking like a star to a star and a half at most, rather than 5, which is too much of a risk in my opinion.
Yeah, do you think it's worth it for me to start doing Commercy and making that little like slight upgrade to Sweetwater? Because like, you know, I'm still using Zakum, you know, accessories, but granted, it's just for grinding, you know.
Yeah, this is for grinding though, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like the tattoo because it's a good placeholder until Twilight Mark, right? So you can very easily get a 17 and then a 19 tattoo, which means that your first Twilight Mark you can also go at least 19 or maybe even 21 if you want it to be an upgrade before you need to hard commit to it. You know, in terms of the potential and the flame. And then because the Twilight Mark got pushed higher before you switched it to it, now the Berserk get pushed higher before you got to it. And now you can switch into a stronger dropper Mezzo piece earlier in the tattoo, and then after that in the Twilight Mark. So I think that opens up options early on. Sorry. And but there is definitely a point sometimes where you're like already past that point, and then going back just doesn't make much sense. Then you're just kind of like wasting your time.
I feel like
Pendants
I
are
might
tricky.
be there.
Yeah, you might be there. Pendants are tricky because people can lack for dominators. So in your situation, I wouldn't put it or like around your level. I would sometimes advise still to go back for pendants, but since you have so many dominators, then I wouldn't do that either, because this means that you can fully commit to Daybreaks when you get it. If you do get it, you can like you have a 22 Superior and a 22 Dominator already, so there's no pressure on Daybreaks to need to go into Source because you have the Dominators already for that. So I wouldn't go back to Sweetwater for that. You're already getting Twilight marks. You should be able to get a 19 very easily, although, you know, Newbie needed like 11 of them, even though he's safeguarded to even see 18 once, so which is just, you know. But he, you know, he crawled so that the rest of us could run.
Jesus. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
no,
awful.
those odds make no sense. He was like at the 0.001 percentile of like luckiness, or other way around. I don't know how you say it, but yeah, it just was ridiculous. But now he has 20 backups, so, you know, now he doesn't know what to do with all of his final marks. It happens. Yeah, and eye accessory, you already have the 20. Yeah, no, I don't think Sweetwater for you is going to be any helpful. If you want to do it to just purely make drop set, that is purely going to be for mobbing. I think focusing forward, trying to get pitch so that you can get your current damage set to become just stronger drop set makes more sense. Or just getting slightly more backups to just kind of like bring up the ones that already have upgrade potential right now to compensate for the weaker pieces. In the meantime, I think that makes more sense than going out of your way for Sweetwater. Whether you want to do Sweetwater as a prep thing for your side character, for your paladin though, that's a possibility though, right? To keep that possibly in your back pocket. And then also the added value is there, you only have to do it on one character and not on two, which is also a huge bonus, I think.
Yeah, because Commercy sucks. So,
yeah, it's not great content. It's,
no.
I mean, everybody wants a pity system, and then that's the pity system that we get. So, if that's as good as we get, the pity system, then, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
begrudgingly accept it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, really no words. Yeah.
I think that takes us through most of the equips. Yeah. Did you have any remaining questions?
No. I honestly feel like I've pretty much know what to do. Pretty much just waiting room, and then I have some future goals to look forward to. So.
Yeah, you're not in like the full waiting room for some things yet. And as much as it is a waiting room for Eternals and everything, that's not going to feel like that because there's still so much stuff to work on, and Eternals are so expensive and so, well, they feel very slow, but then they're not because they're still better than pitched. But somehow we see pitched as better because then if you hit the whole thing. Pity systems are so, I don't know, they can be so unintuitive, right? Because you just have to look at it objectively, but a lot of those things are very emotional. Because, like, getting a pitch drop feels really, really good. And then, getting 1/20th or 1/10th of a Eternal piece feels really bad. Or it feels nothing, even though you're basically getting the piece faster than you're getting pitches. It's like, that should feel good, but it doesn't. And the other thing is objectively worse, but feels better. It just... Yeah, sometimes you just have to try to get your rational mind to override your emotional mind in like what you're valuing and what you're not valuing, but that can be very tricky. So, the game is very good at not letting that be easy. So yeah, Star Force wise, I would specifically look at the arcanes, but you want to get backups, so you just have to start slowly pushing on those bosses a little bit more. Sometimes maybe just, you know, run a pickup group just to try to get some entries. Skill ring is going to be huge for you. Weapon jump 3 or 4, roar 3 or 4 is going to be massive. Roar 1 I wouldn't use. Not worth the swapping because you want to get 2 rings, right? So you can swap for every single burst. If you only hit 1, then you might want to just keep that ring on and just use that one if it's a big enough one, and then don't swap. Sometimes that might even mean that going to a 3-minute instead of a 2-minute, but that might depend on your party composition, right? If most of the party is 3-minute and you've got a support that will also go in 3-minute, and you have a 3-minute ring and only 1, then maybe you just stay on 3-minute and just also burst on 3-minute. It's not ideal, but it's probably better in that situation than trying to desperately ring swap back to a damage ring or anything like that. Plus, the sooner you hit the really good, because what are your other damage rings here? The sooner you hit the...
My damage rings are...
We see that you drop ring to 22, but you have a damage kind of treasure ring here. What Star Force is on that one?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing when I was doing this. It's pretty bad. So, Yeah.
Because I always keep the
Well,
drop a little bit lower, you know, than the main one. So what
well,
the?
I actually, so when I was Star Forcing it,
Mm-hmm,
it was a blank, had no potential, and
mm-hmm.
then I cubed the Kana treasuring once I hit 22, and I got double drop.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense. Yeah, yeah. So you didn't Star Force the drop rate to 22. Your
It,
22 got
I was
drop rate on
22ing
it.
and then got
Yeah.
drop rate. Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's See, this is how you get back in my favor. You know, now I don't have to put you on the naughty list for making horrible decisions. No, that makes a lot more sense. That's very.
I mean, it feels horrible,
that
but no, that was not.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
but
how it's gonna happen.
that's gonna happen. Yeah, but you're in a
Yeah.
stage now that you know next time an event comes around, that kind of treasure damage ring is easily gonna go up to 21. That's pretty much a guarantee. You just need to get the time and the backups. That's it. But yeah, you get your full drop rate in. You got your drop rate fam. Oh, I don't have your inner abilities. I don't think. Are those looking
They
okay?
should be on my combat power page.
Yeah, I got one here. Oh, yeah, you have the mobbing one here as well. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Do you have a third one with just 20 drop on top or no?
No, because I don't have that much
Yeah.
honor, so I was just gonna, once I get a couple extra bill, probably just use circulators on the third one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just checking. Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, hopefully the video for VHilla helps you. If you still have additional questions, just hit me up on Discord or in the chat anytime. Yeah, of course my character does the boss still, but like very differently now because of bursting, and it's got a roar 4 and other things, and it's been upgraded since then, so you can do the boss very differently now. But yeah, hopefully not too much is being blocked by my camera on the left side, because it's back when I had my mom in the background. I noticed
yeah,
that
I remember that.
that blocks off quite a bit of the gameplay, UI design, and all of that. But yeah, hopefully it showcases a little bit like the options you have and the mobility and the dodging and decisions I make. I probably talk through it a little bit as well, but I look pretty zoned out and pretty focused.
Yeah, well, either tonight or tomorrow night, I'm probably just literally gonna do nothing but practice bosses. So.
Yeah, I like that
definitely watching.
general change that you could just keep going in practice mode. Even don't have to put your skills on
Without using
cooldown.
buffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
such a huge improvement. Because not that that's how everybody wants the boss, but some people do, and now they can actually try that way. Like that was my major hurdle for starting Black Mage, was you could only try once a day, and you had to get a key every single time to go in and do a real run, and just once a day, and that was it. And the amount of materials back then for it, and then you had a party, and then some people didn't learn as fast, me, and then you start sending the people back who are learning quickly, and then they're like, I'm wasting my time here, and now we're getting low on keys. Now I can't do actual runs, right? And actually get clear. And it was just a whole extra level of stressors. And now it's just like, oh, let's go practice mode. Boom, go in. Oh, we fucked up. Okay, exit. Go in again. Let's go. Like now the only thing is like that all your skills go on cooldown. Maybe that's probably the next thing, is that you should probably like reset the cooldown of your skills or of your origin. But then people will just they'll just do a boss, put all their skills on cooldown, go into practice mode, get it all back, do another boss. You have to have some kind of system to counter attack, or to counter like people abusing that, right? So yeah. Okay. Any last words? Any last requests? As if you're going to the to the chair. Final meal.
Okay. Actually, one final thing. Should yes, if I don't get drops by for my arcanes, and should I focus on getting them to 19 as soon as possible, or just kind of wait for an event?
Well, arcanes I would say always on event, so
okay.
I think arcanes past 19 waiting for a shining, I would almost like if everything is if your stuff is 21 and arcanes are 19 and there's a shining like within a few months, I would always just wait for that, just because it's like more likely in the realm of desirable upgrade rather than necessary upgrade, and then you could just do it more efficiently. But if it's anything Arcane past 17 or anything else past 19, I would probably only ever do that on events. Just because you're essentially making all the time that you spent making the money more valuable by spending the money at a different time, you know? You're getting so much extra juice out of it. And basically 5, 10, 15s, I almost want to... I think 30% offs makes sense only if you're not going to safeguard or if you're just drowning in money and you might not be able to spend all your money during one 5, 10, 15. Which is...
Okay.
Yeah, which doesn't happen on Arcanes typically, or Eternals, like, or anything over level 200. That usually only happens if you're doing like CRA on like 12 boss mules or something, because you can keep endlessly tapping CRA and your money does not go down. Once you get used to like tapping Arcanes past 19, CRA and all that stuff is like free to upgrade comparatively. You'll start noticing that. Or when you get the itch. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to just spend a little bit of money just because you feel like it, but typically I would do that on cubes off event over Star Forcing. Oh,
Alright, yeah,
bots, dude.
I think,
yeah, I think
yeah, pretty much answered
November
everything.
November cube sale is going to be major for you, I think.
Yeah,
So-
I'm definitely looking forward to that. So
Yeah,
I don't really have anything to
save
start
for
with
that.
right now.
Yeah. I'll mostly save for that unless there's a 5 to 15, then you can go. You can try the Arcanes and yeah, and maybe the kind of treasure ring, right? But yeah, other than that, it's mostly saving for cubes for now. But yeah, just try to get into those bosses, try to get those attempts in, and hopefully get a special ring, and then and practice Black Mage. I mean, honestly, Black Mage gets so complicated that it'll make all the other bosses below it feel way easier because you just have way more time there to respond
Awesome.
to things.
Okay.
Because like sometimes you have to just dial up the difficulty to 12 to make the other things, you know, seem more reasonable. Way back in the day, I guess last thing I'll say, I struggled a lot with old Hard Lotus, long time ago, and it was just like it just felt too RNG, just felt too impossible. And then when we started running Black Mage, which also felt impossible, and I felt like I was not making any progress. But then I went back to Hard Lotus. And I was like, oh, there's like nothing going on. This is so easy now. Like, you have so much time to respond to everything. Like, it's not even doing anything. So there was definitely progress being made, but it just wasn't maybe noticeable in the thing that I was trying to progress. But I was getting much better at risk assessment, reaction speed, recognizing patterns, that kind of thing. And it did translate over to other bosses and made those a lot more easy. So I imagine once you start practicing Black Mage that all of the C10A stuff starts making a lot more sense, and you start seeing... You know, like with the Matrix, you start like looking through the code and you start seeing the openings more than you just see the blob of things trying to kill you, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck. Yeah, don't be a stranger. Let me know. And if there's additional questions on the VHilla run and any of that, I'm available.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Best of luck, and I'll see you around.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. Okay. All right, maybe a little bit longer than that needed to be, but I'm also still... I'm just trying to be a little bit less rushed by things and just take my time for things. Yeah, if you guys have any additional questions or any remarks on this, make sure to leave a comment, anything like that. If you want a session like this, or one where you just ask me anything that you think is necessary or informative for you, then check the description of the video or check out in the chat !coaching. That's a Twitch chat right there over on the left. Main thing I do full time is stream over on Twitch, and then a lot of my content and highlights and stuff will go here on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to be there live while I stream and use any of these commands that you saw me pull out of my ass, these are all directly connected with the chat and with bots in there that will give you these as replies to any of your requests that you have. So those are freely available to you and to, you know, you don't have to be a subscriber or anything, just available to everyone. Yeah, the coaching sessions are available to subscribers, to viewers who watch the stream. They're available. 2 people get a free one as well every month. I put a post on here on YouTube on the 15th of every month. So I think this was one of the winners, actually. I think so. I think this was one of the 2 winners who got drawn, who got a free session. And you can also just buy a session from me, depending on what kind of session you want. There's different prices, of course. If you want a private session or not, you can also do that. It doesn't have to be on stream. But yeah, hopefully it was useful for you. Hopefully you figured out one or two things that you were wondering about. If it if it posed extra questions that you didn't even know you had, then feel free to drop by during the live stream or leave a comment, and I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.